What's up, guys? Now, if I died tomorrow and you wanted to understand exactly how I traded, this would be the video to watch. This is everything from how I find the trade to how I manage it. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts from candle to candle. Now, this can be done on any time frame. So whether you're a day trader or a swing trader, this works just as well. These are just my thoughts. This is how I trade. There's clearly multiple ways to trade in the market. This is just how I do it from start to finish. Okay, guys, I want to show you some flow that I did take for the small account. This is GTLB. I've got the checklist up there, so let's kind of go side by side with the checklist. First one is aggressive buying. If you look at the timestamps here, especially starting here, 1434, 35, 35, 36, 36, 38, 39. So in a quick window here, they're showing some ask side sweeps back to back to back. So that's pretty aggressive. Specific contract, these are all isolated to the $829 $45 calls. Ask and above ask sweeps. You can see in this portion here, these are ask side sweeps. Yes, there are some blocks in there, and yes, there are a few bid sides, but those don't scare me away. This is the majority ask side sweeps. That's telling me these are opening transactions. It's not a solo block. Significant dollar amount. There's some small ones in there, but then you have 121, 106, 168. So the average dollar flow for this name is 1.19 million, and this is just under 600,000 in this contract alone. So that's pretty significant. And then the contract volume exceeding the OI, I can see that from this column here. So that's telling me that there's an increased activity in this particular contract compared to what's been open prior to today. And the contract price increasing, I did skip that one. 150, 155, 160, 177, 178. It did drop a little bit there, but that is generally contract price increasing. So this has the look of everything that I like to see in options flow. And let's take a look at the small accounts. So this is the $2,000 account. You can see right there. And I did buy a single contract for 175. Now, some people would say you can be more aggressive with this, but in a $2,000 account, I don't want to put too much risk into a single position. This is about growing a small account responsibly, risk averse. There's always risk with options, but with a $175 position on a $2,000 account, I feel like even if this one goes against me, I'd be able to recover that responsibly. So just a single contract. This is about building a small account slowly, responsibly. And you can see I do have the DKNG from that other flow in there, just a single contract of that one. So I bought this at 175. The current market is $2. So it's up a little bit. The market is closed right now, so we'll see where that ends up on Monday. We have till August 29th, so 2 weeks to go on this contract. We're going to see what we can do with the small account. I do have one single contract of GTLB in that $2,000 account. Now here's the chart on this one. This is a daily chart. You can see I've got this support zone down here where we hit it once, twice, 3 times. We just recently came into it and had a nice move out of it. So it is a little bit out of the move already. That was around $40. You can see it's currently $44.28. So it did have a nice move out of there. I do have this trend line here. This is 2 points. Now for a trend, we want 3 points. So this isn't a solid trend line, but we're heading back up there. So even if we got a third touch of it over here somewhere, that would be above the 46 area, of course, depending on how long it took to get there. So that's a good 2 points up from where we are now. I would like to see it continue on up and maybe touch this line for a third time so we can form that trend. Of course, ideally, we'd want to break above it, but a nice bounce out of this support zone down here to go along with that options flow. So this is what I'm looking at. This is a target somewhere up here, depending on how long it takes to get up there. That's where I'd like to see it go. Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, August 18th, and the market opens in 1 minute. So we're going to take a look at these positions at the opening bell, and then I'll pop back on when something happens with them. You can see we had a little bit of after hours action on DKNG, but then this morning it gave that back, trying to pop a little bit here. And for this one, we had about flat after hours on Friday, and then it dipped this morning as well. I'm trying to come back a little bit. So once the opening bell rings, we're going to take a look at what's going on with these guys. I'll give you my opening thoughts. and then we will move on with the day. And like I said, I'll pop back on if something happens with them where I need to share some thoughts on what I'm going to do with them. But for now, we're just going to let the opening bell ring in 5 seconds, and we'll take a look at what happens with the opening action. So DKNG and GTLB are the two first positions, and that is the bell. So you can see DKNG is popping, GTLB is going the opposite direction. So let's let the morning shake out and see what's going on here. It's volatility right at the opening bell. I don't usually worry about too much. I don't trade the opening bell. If you guys have seen my orb videos, that keeps me out of trades for the first 15 minutes of the day. I will trade within the first 15 minutes from time to time, but my success rate is not as good as the rest of my trading. So I generally try to stay out of the market for the first 15 minutes and let things shake out a little bit. So you can see DKNG kind of climbed a little bit. That's up 7%, and GTLB is down 1% when it was up 10% on Friday. So we gave back those gains for GTLB. DKNG increased. And now let's get that chart over where it's supposed to be. Now it's just about watching the opening action and seeing what's going on here. So little pop on this one. I like that. You can see this resistance area right in here. So I definitely want to see it clear that. And this one, we've got some support area down here, 1 and 2. I don't want to see it get down that far, but if it does, that's still a valid trade for me. This one expires in 2 weeks. DKNG expires in October. So plenty of time on this one. They both have ERs relatively shortly after expiration, so these could be ER run-up trades. And you can see this one gave back that pop a little bit. It is up, actually down now, 0.85%, now up 0.85%. So it's just kind of hanging around the break-even area. I definitely want to see it crack above this level of resistance here. This one's just hanging out, not moving a whole lot. So that's the opening situation on these two trades. I will pop back on if something happens. There's a nice little pop there, up 6% now. But that's morning volatility, so who knows what will happen in 10 minutes from now. But like I said, I will pop back on if something happens. Otherwise, I will see you guys later. All right, little update here. DKNG is up over 20%. So if you wanted to close it out for 20%, I don't do it that way. I trade based on the charts, and it's not at a level where I'm ready to close it yet, but the flow did its job. This was an options flow trade, and it is up 20%. So it did give you a chance to make a profit. It could drop all of that. So how you manage this is up to you. I'm going to let it continue and see. We have a little bit of time on this one, and it's not at a point in the chart where I'm really worried about it. But if you wanted to lock in 20% gains, there you go. The flow did its job. Okay, quick update on DKNG. We're currently up 28%, which for a small account is pretty good. We're trying to build this slowly, so if we can grab 30% gains here and there, that would be awesome. But I want to show you on the chart what I'm looking at. Let's change this to a daily chart. Zoom in a little bit. This peak right here was 47.40, I think it was. 47.36 is what I have it marked there. So I want to see if we can push into that peak. So it was a resistance before. I want to see if we can push into that, and maybe it's resistance again. So that's at 47.36. Now, I usually close things a little bit before a target because sometimes support and resistance isn't an exact line. It can be a zone. So if it's going to get close to that area but not quite reach it, I don't want to miss out on gains. So if that's 47.36, I might close it at 47.20, 47.25, 47.15, anywhere in that area, depending on what price action looks like. So if we get halfway up there and then we just start leveling out, I might choose that to be the spot to close it just to protect some profits. You can see it's now 29.91%. So for a small account, that's pretty good. Those are overnight gains. Opened this Friday. It's now Monday. So not bad to lock something in. With a small account and only being one contract, I can't scale out. So that's what makes it trickier for the small accounts, is that normally I would close 75% of the position and keep 25% open in case it wants to continue running beyond what I see as potential resistance. But with a single account, you can't do that. So you just have to pick your spot on where you're going to close it out and protect those gains. And for me, I'm looking at the 47.36 area. So it's about 80 cents away from where we are now. Again, if it doesn't get to that area and looks like it just wants to start leveling out, I will close it out there to protect gains, even though it hasn't reached my actual target on the chart, because price action would be showing me that it might not get there. So be protective. It's a small account. Keep those gains in your pocket, and I will update further if something happens. You can see we're on a nice little push right here. So looking for the 47.30 area, and I'll look to close it out depending on if it gets there or if we see any kind of resistance before there to protect some of these 35% gains. And I'm thinking I'm going to close it out shortly because this peak right here as a prior resistance, I want to see it become support. So that's 46.35. So if this breaks below 46.35, I will go ahead and close this out. You can see I use market orders, but let's see if it wants to bounce here first. If it wants to bounce, I will hold this open. If it wants to break below that level, I will close it, because what I want to see is a prior resistance become support and then bounce and make a higher high. That would be the ideal scenario. So we're going to have the order open and hovering over it just in case it wants to break, but you can see it does want to bounce, at least for the short term. These are 1 minute candles, so from minute to minute these will change, but we'll see if it wants to hold this peak as prior resistance as a new support. So 46.35 is the area I'm looking at. And right now this candle is coming in with a bounce, so we might not need to worry about this one just yet. But it's on watch. Like I said, I want to protect those gains. So if it breaks below that level, it has some time on it, so it can bounce afterwards, but small account, single contract, I want to protect those gains. So it either bounces or it breaks a level that I would think should hold as support. And if it does that, that's where I'm going to cut the trade. But right now it's getting a bounce. So we're just going to keep this on watch, and I will be back if something happens. So you can see this 46.50 area is giving it some trouble, so I might just close this out here. It's nearing that level that I want to see it hold as support, but I also want to see it crack above this 46.50, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles that couldn't do that. So I have the sell order up here. It's a market order, so once I hit this button, it's going to go through. So again, we're just kind of watching the price action. It has out to October, but this is the small account. So again, the key is to protect gains. Now, it could dip and I could close it, and then by October, it's 200, 300% gains. Who knows? I can't see the future. What I can see is that I have profits. It's a small account, and I want to protect them. So if we get any kind of a dip here under this 46.40-ish area, I might just close it out and lock in 25-ish% gains. We'll see. It's on watch. We're going to see what happens here. I do want to see it break above 46.50 to be more confident that it's going to continue the upswing. But if it breaks, like I said, this high right here, I want to see it hold the support. And it did here, but it can't make a higher high just yet. So that's the key. I want to see a higher high. I want to see it break above this level of resistance here. If not, I'm just going to close out the trade and lock in some gains. So it's just on watch right now. Another few cents down, and I'll just close it out, lock in gains, and move on to the next trade. Because I would have liked to see it push through. So we had this nice move up, a little retrace, and then it started bouncing. I would have liked to see it push through right there. But since it's struggling at 46.50, that might be the cue to just close it out and move on. But we're just watching these candles form here. Another 2 or 3 cents down, and I might just hit this button. But trading is just a big waiting game. That's all we do. We just sit, watch the charts, and wait. And when it does something up or down, we hit the button. And right now, I'm looking to see if this level of support will hold. And if not, we're just going to close it out. Like I said, I'm only giving this another penny or two down. And if it doesn't look like it wants to hold here, We're going to go ahead and close this trade. It is currently sitting at 26% gains. It was up to 35, so it did give some back. We're kind of testing this support area here, so it might be decision time in the next few seconds. We'll see. There's a nice bounce on this candle. But again, until it clears 46.50, this is just kind of consolidating here. We had a nice move up, we gave some back, and then it's just going sideways for now. So I do want to see it clear this level of resistance, or if it clears this level of support, we close it out. 47.36 is the target. Again, I will close it out a little bit before that, just in case it doesn't quite reach the exact level. And it is now just a waiting game, seeing what happens. There's a nice pop to 46.50, but now we need to see if it can clear that, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles where it couldn't. So while that's a nice green candle, we want to see it clear this level here and go test HOD, and then ideally push through HOD. That's the thought process on this one. There's 46.52, 54. It's a nice little push there, but the key is continuation. So do we see continuation and a push through HOD? That's what we're on watch for. Right now, it's got a nice little push. Let's see if we can break through HOD and head towards 47.36, and I'll be back if something happens. And I'm back. This might be a quick one here. So we did break above this 46.50. Now I want to see it hold as support. So prior resistance holds as support. You can see we're back up to the 31% range in profits. So if it doesn't hold 46.50, I'm just going to close this out and move on. Now again, we could dip 46.50 by 2 cents, 6 cents, and then climb to HOD, and that would be fine. But again, single contract, small account. So anything below 46.50, and I'm just going to close this out. You can see we're flirting with that level here. I'm just going to close out, lock in 25 to 30% gains, and move on to the next one. There's plenty of time on this one. Single contract, small account. You're going to hear me say this over and over. The key here for me, others can trade this differently, but for me, I just want to build this account slowly, get some gains in there, lock them in, and move on to the next trades. So with a small account, I'm not willing to give up gains like I might in a bigger account. I'm a little more conservative, more risk averse, because you don't have the movements, the buying power. There's a nice little pop there. So this one's kind of resistance at 46.50 for this whole time period here. And then you can see it's becoming support here and bouncing. So now we want to see it break HOD, which looks to be around 46.64. And then again, a good push towards 47.36, but below 46.50, and I'm going to close this one out and move on to the next trade. You can see that candle was a nice push, but it's coming down. If it closes at the lows or breaks 46.50, you will see me push the button to send the sell order for DKNG. So again, trading is just a waiting game. You're in the trade, you just have to wait for it to do one thing or the other and then push the buttons. That's what we do. Currently getting a bounce. Now, same as it was here, this 46.50 was tough to get through for these. This is a 10-minute period. Now we want to see if it gets through here. So resistance on this candle, resistance on this candle, we want to see it push. Now this is kind of micromanaging because this is a 1-minute chart for a position that expires in October and it's only August. But again, since it's a smaller account, I just want to lock in the gains and move on. So it either clears resistance or it doesn't. 31% gains overnight. Just trying to protect that as best I can. So normally for October, I wouldn't be watching a 1-minute chart. But again, since it's a small account and since it's a single contract, I'm a little more conservative with these guys. You can see GTLB is up 16%, so that one got a nice move up off the lows. So just kind of talking through the thought process as these candles form so you can get an idea of how I'm trading these. Maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not. I know some of it's confusing because on 1 minute I'm talking about watching to close and the next minute I'm talking about it held support and bounced, but that's just trading. So minute by minute, your decisions can change. Right now we're up here pushing, that might have been HOD on this candle. So 33%, it's on the move up. Again, looking for anything near the 47.36 area. Doesn't have to get quite up there. If it gets close, I'll close it out. Normally that's where I would scale out and keep some open in case it wants to run, but with a single contract and a small account, that's not an option. So if it approaches what I think could be a potential level of support, or sorry, of resistance in this case, that's where I would close out the single contract. GTLB up 17%, DKNG up 34%. So both of those flow trades were doing pretty well. You can lock them both in and get some decent gains there. But again, I'm going to let the chart dictate. So this is the 46.60 area was resistance. Now I want to see 46.60 become support. So we'll leave that line there just so you can see the candles form around it and what they do in this area. But that 46.60 was prior resistance, so I want to see it become current support. If it breaks that level, I'll just close out the trade and move on. So this is bumping up the stop. Again, normally you would do this probably on a daily chart. Definitely not a 1 minute chart, but because it's a small account, I'm going to treat it a little bit differently. So when this was a level of support over here, if that broke, I would have closed the trade. So my stop is somewhere below this level here. Once we punch through and make a higher high, and then we pull back here, you can change your stop. You can bump it up. Now, ideally, you'd want to leave it somewhere around here. Prior resistance becomes support, but I'm going to be a little more aggressive with this one, and I want to see this candle wick here of resistance become support over here. So that's around the 46.60 area. 35% gains, not bad for overnight, so nothing wrong with just locking those in and moving on. You can see GTLB up here. That one's on a nice push right now. Those are up 20%. So 46.60 is the area for this one where I'm looking to hold a support or close if it doesn't. And again, if I close it for 30% gains and then it bounces and goes on to 60, 70, 80%, so be it. I'm okay with that. In a bigger account, I will have runners to keep track of that and be able to capitalize if it moves further. But with a smaller account, I'm just going to lock in gains and move on. And we're getting down to this 46.60-ish area, so we're just going to hover over this send button, and if it breaks that level, again, prior resistance right here, I want to see it become support. So anything less than 46.60, I'm just going to close this one out and lock in. It'll be about 30-ish% gains. Not bad for an overnight trade. And you can see technical analysis is working out the way it textbook should. Prior resistance becoming support. So again, it's just back to the waiting game. If it breaks this level to the downside, I close it out. If it makes a higher high and continues on towards the target, I let it do its thing. Right now, it's got a nice little green candle, but the candle isn't closed yet, so we'll just see how it plays out. Okay, so it just closed. You can see the next one started off red, but plenty of time on this one. Let's let this candle form and see how it wants to go. Again, below 46.60, I'm closing it, and anywhere in the 47.15 to 47.36 area, somewhere up there, I will close it out for profits. So that's the way I trade. I've got an entry based on either options flow or technical analysis, and then my exits are going to be based on what I see on the chart, whether it's support or resistance. I don't trade based on percentages. Some people will say, like here, it's up 35%, lock it in, that's a good trade. But it shows that it could potentially go up to the 47.36 area. So you don't want to close it for a 35% gain and then watch it go to a level of resistance on the chart and miss out on potential gains. So I don't trade based on that percentage. I trade based on the chart. It's showing me that it could potentially go up to this area, so that's what I want to see it do. And if it does, I'll close it there. Whatever the percentage gain or loss is on the trade, it is what it is. I trade based on the charts, not based on a dollar amount, not based on a percentage. I don't believe in trading with a blanket 25% stop loss or 30% stop loss. Those don't work. Those are arbitrary numbers. The market has no meaning to your 25, 30%, or whatever number you pick. So I trade based on the chart. Prior resistance became support. So anything under 46.62, and I will close this out. That's trading just based on the chart. Whatever percentage or dollar gain or loss it is what it is. So 100% chart-based trading. Not based on dollar, not based on percent, not based on emotion. The chart shows me it wants to hold a level or it doesn't. If it does, I stay in the trade. If it doesn't, I close it out. And now back to the waiting game. So these two trades were based on options flow. One of them's currently up 38%, one of them's up 24%. So the options flow did its job. It got me into 2 profitable trades. At this point, what you could do is you can set your stop loss to make sure these don't go red. So that might not be based on the chart. But what that does is not allow something that's up 38% to turn around, lose all those gains, and then take money away from you. So that I will do. As this were to drop, if it were to get closer and closer to 0, but again, this one's going to be closed before that. But what you can do on any of these is once you're up 22%, you can set a stop loss on there so that it can't go red. You don't want to see something up 20-something% and then end up losing money on you. So stop losses at a little bit above break even just to cover commissions and whatnot. That I'm okay with. Otherwise, I'm just going to let the chart dictate what I'm looking to do with these trades. So again, this one, 46.60, this area of support right here, I want to see it hold. If it does, I stay in it. If it breaks it, I close that one out. GTLB, it's on a slow move, but it's in a move in the right direction. So as long as that keeps creeping upwards, we're good to hold on to that one. The target for this one, I think, is around 46. That's based on the daily chart as well. So this one needs to be monitored because it closes in 2 weeks, I think, this one. So this one expires in 2 weeks, so I'm going to be a little more cautious with that one. This one has a little more time on it, but again, I just want to protect the gains because it's a single contract, so I don't have the leeway to hit a target and then let runners run. So more interested in just closing these out to protect profits. You can see how boring trading really is, right? It's not what you see in the movies. It's not what you see on social media. It's pretty boring, but if you analyze correctly and just let the charts do their thing, boring can be profitable. So on that note, I'll be back if there's something else to say. Okay, so this prior level of support here, we're getting a wick below it. So this candle, I want to watch closely. We made a higher high, higher low. To continue the uptrend, we want to see a higher high. So if this low here is broken, then the uptrend is not intact anymore. Now, you can get a candle or two below it and then resume the uptrend. But again, being a smaller account, I'm just going to protect the profits and move on to the next trade. So if this level of support here doesn't hold, I will close out this trade. If it does hold and bounces, we stay in it. No emotion, just trading on the chart. You can see I don't close things out on a wick. So that level there, you can see the wick did breach it, but I want to see how the candle closes. Before it closes, if we get a big move down, I might hit the button. But I don't want to close it just on a wick, because a lot of times, even afterwards, if this candle closes above the level and then breaks below it, maybe we get 1 or 2 candles below support and then it bounces again. Have you guys ever closed out a trade because it broke a level of support and then 10 minutes later it's at a new all-time high? So that does happen. It can happen on a wick. Like here, this is a level of support. You can see the wick broke it, but the candle closed above it. So usually I don't close out a trade like that. I will watch the wicks because that is valid price action, but I'm not necessarily closing something just because a wick broke a level. I do want to see how the bodies form. I want to see how the candles close unless it's just a big move in a single candle. So about 46.70, which is where it is hovering right now. That's about where I'm going to close this one out. You can see it's up 37%. So again, we would be locking in anywhere from 30 to 35% gains. 46.70. So any move below this area here, we're getting a red candle and then a second one starting to form. So we're just going to close out this trade if it has another tick down. And we'll do that here. So we got filled at 157. We entered at 117. I don't know what the percentage is on that one, but not bad. And now the only trade we have open in the small account is GTLB. And that's currently up 18%. So we're going to move this over to SPY so I can keep an eye on the general market. So 117 to 157, that's a $40 gain on a 117. If you guys want to see what that actually is, oh, the calculator on my screen doesn't show up, but it would be a 34% gain. So DKNG, 34% gain from Friday open to Monday close, 117 to 157. And that was a single contract in the small account. So now we just have this one position open to monitor. And if something happens with that, I will come back on and talk to you guys later. And now looking at GTLB, you can see we're starting to come down a little bit. We couldn't quite make a higher high over here. So if this level breaks here, we're still at 22+%. So if this level breaks here, I'm just going to go ahead and close this out. Now remember, this one expires in 2 weeks, so should be a little more aggressive managing this one. We went from 22% to 17%. So let's go ahead and click that. We're going to change the buy to a sell. And if we break below this level, we're just going to close that one out. So this is now on watch to see if we're going to close out. If it holds here, bounces and makes a higher high, we're good. We'll hold. If it breaks this level to the downside, we close. So now I would be managing the second position in this account, GTLB, which expires in 2 weeks. Again, prior resistance became support. So if we break that level to the downside, I'm just going to go ahead and close this out and protect some gains. We're currently sitting at plus 21%. So not bad for a small account. But again, I don't trade on percentages. I trade on the chart. So if this level of support breaks, now we have a series of lower highs and lower lows. So that would mean the uptrend is now broken and new downtrend is forming. And again, it might confirm the downtrend with a lower high and a lower low. And that lower low might just be 2 or 3 candles, and then we bounce and climb up and make a new HOD. Once I'm out of the trade though, I don't care what it does. So if we make a lower low here, the uptrend is broken and I'm in calls. So if the uptrend is broken on a call position, I would close it out. There's a nice little pop there, so we might not have to worry about it. But again, this is about how I manage trades. So the thought process on this candle was that I need to watch it. The thought process on this candle was that we get a nice pop and I might not need to. That's just trading. That's how it goes. So from minute to minute, you can see how my thought process changes. Working on a nice pop here, right into HOD, we're just under it. So if we get a push above that, again, the target on this one, I'd have to look at my other chart. I think the target on this one was 46, if I remember correctly. But I will manage it before it gets there if it looks like it's going to have trouble. So in other words, if we double top here and reject and confirm the double top, I would close this out and protect whatever profits are there. We're currently sitting at 24% gains. So if we double top here and confirm the double top, I would close it out and protect whatever gains are left of that 24%. which it would be considerably lower, but there should still be gains. So now we're just in the waiting game. Do we break this level of support to the downside, or do we break this level of resistance to the upside? And as always, I'll be back when something happens. So 44.96 was the target on GTLB. That's a daily resistance. We're at 44.89, so we're just under that level. So again, in case it doesn't get all the way up there, I'm going to close that position as it nears that level. It's close enough now to hit the button, but it's pushing a little bit. So I just want to see if it wants to continue some upside action here. But we are probably going to close this trade out very shortly here. You can see it's currently up 35%. So again, not bad for a small account. This contract does expire in 2 weeks. But this is a level of resistance on the daily chart, which is why I'm watching it here. And we just reached that target level. So let's see if we can push through real quick or if it wants to reject. Again, I'm watching a 1 minute chart right now, but that line up there is the resistance on the daily chart. So I want to see it push through right here, or if it rejects, we're just going to close it out and lock in a nice 34% overnight gain. Again, this one was open Friday, it's Monday, and let's just hit the button there on that red candle. So we closed at 230. The entry for this one was 175. So what percentage is that? We'll pull up the calculator. Again, the calculator isn't showing on the screen, but 230 from 175. This is a 31% gain. And you can see we hit that level on the daily chart, and that was a pretty decent rejection right there. Not a whole lot. We're talking pennies because this is a 1 minute chart. So the scale is pretty short, but you can see how we hit that level and then a big red candle came in. So closing that one out, you can see 230 was the fill. So 21.45 after 2 trades. There's actually 3 trades. I did a test trade in this account once I opened it to make sure everything was good. So 21.45 from 2000. And we're just going to grow this small account slowly but responsibly. So now you can see there are no positions in the account, so nothing further to display at this point. So next time I take a trade, I'll pop back on and show you why I'm taking that one, and I'll show you the entry live. So here's GTLB, and this is why I don't record live while I'm trading too often. I get distracted very easily. I was looking at the wrong chart. On my other charting setup, I didn't have this look in front of me, and this is the look that I set the targets up on. So you can see we did punch through resistance. Now I clearly remember this is the one I wanted to hit this level of resistance up here to form this trend line. I told you we had 2 points. I wanted to see it hit a third time to form a valid trend line. So with 2 weeks to go on this contract, I should not have closed this one out. Again, the charting platform I was looking at, I didn't have this full setup. So when I switched over to this charting platform and see the setup, now I'm reminded of the trade thesis on that one. GTLB probably should have held on to it a little bit longer. My trade thesis was to come up here and test this trend line, which it is doing. So post-analysis on that one was that I was looking at the wrong chart setup and I missed out because of that error.